gratitude to you and our love to you from all of the centres and services in Australia. We've missed you, and it's so nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for teaching us.
Thank you.
Welcome to Chatong Cheng Tong again, Geshe. It's Jen over here. Thank you so much for joining us again. We feel so fortunate. And for this series on Meditations for Life, I know that many people are benefiting greatly from your wisdom and warmth from the session last week on mindfulness. And we're really looking forward to today's session on purification. So thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Again, I think I would like to express much more thanks and grateful for all the Australians who did a lot of prayers and others, many, when I was sick. And I do believe definitely that has helped my quick recovery. And now I feel fully kind of recovered well. So I believe it is the blessing of my teachers, the Buddhas, and then all the prayers and love from all over, and especially Australia. Thank you. So again, like as usual, I would like to start by generating good intention, motivation for being here together. So first, try to quiet and calm your mind by watching breath mindfully for a few seconds. Then we can cultivate the intentions by thinking by coming together, us here, and by engaging in study, learning, exchanging. May it become cause and conditions for us to develop our mind, develop our heart, to become more kind, compassion, and to have more wisdom. And may it be cause and condition to clear and cleanse and purify all the obstacles, interference for the development of our heart and mind. And may it be cause and condition to achieve our own highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help and benefit to each and every sentient being. Okay. So today's topic, Purifications is the today's topic. In Tibetan Buddhism, which is part of Nalanda traditions, purification is very important practice, part of the practice. Not only the general meditations that we do, but also purification is part of meditation, is part of practice that is equally important in our practice. And purification can be some of the practice that is described in some of the practice can be very exotic, and as well as it can be very simple, some of the purification practice in relation to Vajrasattva, there are some practice that, very little bit kind of exotic and complicating practice, where as you do the purification, visualizing, purifying, so forth, the earth crack, and then, all the negative energies go under the earth, and there is the, Lord of the Dead, facing upwards, then feeding everything, all this negative in the form of whatever needs of that Lord of the Dead, and the Lord of Dead being satisfied with whatever being fed, and then putting a basra, double basra on the mouth and putting upside down, and the earth kind of, the crack being kind of what you call join, so there are also those, those are a little bit kind of and sometimes, even in terms of purifications, when you do visualizations, there are certain visualizations, like as the nectar, the enlightened wisdom, compassionate wisdom of Vajrasattva flow into the nectar and the light, and then cleanse and purify all our sickness in the form of, pus or blood, all our spirit, into the form of, in some scripture they describe like, like bear, black bear, or what do you call scrolls, what do you call the black scroll
Scorpion.
scorpions, yeah, scorpions, like that, so again, for some people, it is kind of interesting, but I think for other people also it can be kind of not as interesting and complicating as well, and to feel really that way. So there are many different kind of visualization in relation to the purification practice, but today I'm going to keep it more simple. Sometimes simple can be more powerful, more beneficial than kind of exotics, so I'm trying to kind of talk about it, especially the visualization, more simplified. Okay. So when you talk about purifications, why we need to do purify? the purpose of our spiritual path. The purpose of our spiritual path is to, as I mentioned during the motivations, to become more kinder, more compassionate through our practice meditations, to develop more wisdom through our meditation and practice, eventually to be able to achieve, to become more enlightened, more awakened, and eventually to become fully enlightened and fully awakened, so that we can be the greatest help and benefit to each and every sentient beings without any discrimination, without any partiality. So that is for that purpose. Then that is why we do the practice. That is why we engage in the spiritual practice, Dharma practice. That is why we enter on the path for that purpose. And in order to have a successful in our spiritual path, to be able to develop those inner qualities and improve those inner qualities, just like other things, there are conducive conditions to help that practice, as well as there are obstacles, interference that interfere, and internal, mostly internal obstacles, interference, as well as sometimes external interference and obstacles. And so the purification is to clear and cleanse and purify all these obstacles and interference for our spiritual progress, and mainly for that purpose. And when we talk about purifying, cleansing, clearing, those interference, negative energies, we can talk about many different level of that. Many different level of that. One level of that is our own delusion, our own afflictive emotions. Our own delusion, our own afflictive emotions is the main obstacles. The main obstacle, main interference to develop those spiritual experiences, the realization, the path, and in order to purify and cleanse and clear those afflictive emotions, destructive emotions, then we try to cleanse and purify that through cultivating the antidotes, different different meditation, different practices that could act as antidotes to those different afflictive emotions, such as when you are having obstacles for compassions, then engage in a certain practice meditations that help us to develop the compassion, thereby clearing such as anger and hatred. That is the main obstacle to develop the compassions. And same way, when you have a strong desire, and that become again an obstacle for our spiritual realization, to progress in our spiritual path, and again to overcome that kind of attachment, then we apply many different practice meditations to reduce and overcome those attachments, and through that, we develop the wisdom, realizing the spiritual realizations or experiences of understanding and the meaningless of and essenceless of those object of attachments and attachment itself. And then when sometime again we have obstacles to develop spiritual realization on the path because of our ignorance, then again to cleanse and to purify and to clear that ignorance, then we meditate on certain practice meditations that by using the wisdom, you know, and therefore through that wisdom, again, we cleanse and purify and clear the ignorance. And through that, then it leads to more high level realization on develop on a higher path in our spiritual path. So that is one way of cleansing, purifying, and clearing one of the obstacles for our spiritual realization and the path. And then, you know, there are also not only the obscurations, which are the, again, internal obstacles, interference of the afflicted emotion or delusion, but there are also other, the imprint led by those delusions, what we call, you know, the obscuration, subtle obscuration, the obscuration of omniscience or knowledge, you know. And again, to cleanse, to purify, and to clear that, you know, then not only we need to meditate on the wisdom, but also we need to meditate on love, compassion, bodhicitta. Together with those practice, then we can overcome even that subtle, obscurations. So that is, and then there are, you know, certain other obstacles that are the result of our afflicted emotions. Due to our afflicted emotions, then we engage into certain actions. And due to our afflicted emotion, we engage in some unskillful, unhealthy actions. Through those unskillful actions, unhealthy actions, then we create what we call, you know, negative karma, you know. And through negative karma, then we experience a lot of obstacles, a lot of interference in our life. Definitely to make a progress in our spiritual path, but also in our ordinary life as well. And to cleanse, to purify and clear that, then the Buddha, out of his compassion and by seeing what is the best method to cleanse, purify that, then he gave some purification practices, you know, some purification practice in dealing with those negative emotions. I mean, negative karma that create, out of that negative karma, that create obstacles and interference for our spiritual progress, for our to development of our spiritual path and realizations. And so that is where the purification comes. Okay. And you know, Buddha taught many different practices on purifications, many different practices, you know. And you know, some practices might connect with certain individuals. Some practices might be more effective with certain individuals than others practices, you know, in some cases. So there is a lot of many different practices that Buddha gave and recommended. And whatever practice, you know, many different purification practice, whatever they are, but it is important to have the practice with what we call importance to have all the four forces or four power, we call, you know, opening power or forces, you know. And when all these four are completed, then our purification become more stronger, more effective. When one of those are missing, then our practice of purification become less effective and less powerful. And not only when they all are, when we have gathered all the four forces become effective, but the more stronger we have each of those forces, the more effective, more powerful it becomes. When each of those forces is weak, then again, even though all four are there, but because our practice of each of those power are weak, so again, it does help to purify, but it does not become as effective, as powerful as it should be. And so I think those are some of the things that we have to be kind of aware of that. And those 4 open-end powers, I call 3 R's. Remember, to remember maybe 3 R's, okay? 3 R's, and maybe I wish it was 4 R's, but I think it was not 4 R's. 3 R's and 1 A. I think sometimes it helps us to remember that, So 3 R's are, reliance, the force of reliance, the force of regret, the force of resolutions, and the force of A is antidote. So those 4 forces, importance. And first R, the power of reliance, is taking refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and cultivating bodhicitta to all sentient beings. So it is called reliance because when we create negative karma, whenever we create any kind of negative karma, mostly we create either in relation to holy objects such as Buddha Dhamma Sangha, or we create in relation to sentient beings. So when we purify, then we also rely on the same holy object and sentient beings to purify it. Because by relying on them, we create a negative karma. So for negative karma that we have created in relation to holy objects, we take refuge to the holy objects. In relation to negative karma that we have created in relation to sentient beings, then we cultivate a bodhicitta mind to all sentient beings. So we rely on the same object that we create in negative karma, also for purifications. So that is the first, the force of reliance. Second, the regret, the power of regret. And the power of regret is important in part of, purification, part of transformations. Again, regret could be negative and positive. Here, it is a positive regret. It's a regret that leads you to transformation and change. Not something that regret make you more depressed. And being so, but here regret means, we understand, sometimes we make mistakes, knowingly, unknowingly, Sometimes we make mistakes because we are ordinary human beings. We are not fully enlightened beings. Because we are not fully enlightened beings and we still have strong afflictive emotions and imprint of afflictive emotions, sometimes we make mistakes. When we make mistake, we are aware that we make mistake and we acknowledge that mistake. That is not something positive. That is not something healthy. That is not something beneficial. So when you understand, the act, whether it's through body, speech, and mind, any of 3 doors, that is not healthy. That is not beneficial. That is not positive. It's harmful. It's either harmful to both others and oneself, or sometimes it's harmful for ourselves, but it's harmful for one of the sentient beings. So with that understanding, then we recognize is, something that you don't want to create again, because you don't see that is something not positive and healthy. So you regret in that way, you know. I wish I didn't do that, you know. I wish I didn't engage in that. So when you have that thoughts, that understanding and acknowledgement, then it helps you to change your behavior and action in the future. If you don't see it as a mistake, then you will not try to change it. If you don't see it as a harmful and mistake, then, you know, we will not try to change that such behavior and such actions. But once we understand it's harmful, it's, you know, mistake, and regret for that, then that give the energy, the thoughts, the feeling to change such actions and such behavior. And through having that thought and through putting effort to change, then we can develop and we can progress and we can become better and better. So that is the regret we are talking about here. Positive regret that lead to something positive, not a negative. You know, unlike like some other negative regret where you regret and then it lead to guilty and then, you know, kind of become very dark. Your mind become very dark. You know, so this regret actually lead to some kind of lead towards more positive. You know, so that is why I call healthy regret. You know. And third one is the power or the force of resolutions. And if you have the regret because you see it as something mistake, something as harmful, and something you don't want to, you are not so proud about, then next one comes easily. The resolution not to do again, you know, or at least I will try my best not to engage in such harmful behavior or action again in the future. You know, even we cannot stop completely because still again we are unenlightened, still we have a lot of delusion, but at least we develop that strong thoughts. You know, I will try all my best as much as possible not to repeat such a harmful and unhealthy actions and behavior, you know. So that is the third. So these are the 3 R's, okay? And then as a way to purify that, then engaging in any virtues as a way to purify the negative karma actions, then engaging any virtues become the power or the force of the antidote. That is the antidote. Any virtues, okay? So, you know, feeding another being, whether it can be out of pure intentions and the wish to purify and as well as to help and benefit, feeding animals, feeding human beings, you know, become a purification as well, you know, as a way of it, you know, being a service to, you know, Dharma organization or any other organization that helps sentient beings, other people, and where you can be service to that. That is virtues, you know, or making a holy objects, or doing any other form of Dharma, you know, your meditation practice. And of course, there can be many different meditation, different practice, different form of practice, meditation, according to different individuals, you know. And sometimes maybe we hurt someone, then, you know, we apologize as a way of purifying, ask for forgiveness for the mistake we made, the hurt that we have done to them, and then, try and do something good for them. If we have taken a life of others, most likely not human beings, because we will be in trouble. But maybe sometime, maybe animals, especially insects and so forth, knowingly, intentionally, unintentionally. And for that, again, we do whatever form of purification, and again, saving a life of others. For having taken a life of another being's life, then we try to do saving others' life, So those are many different kind of, virtues. And then, especially is recommended to do, like you see in Shantideva's writing, Labdhi, and taking from many different sutras, source of sutra. Shantideva didn't make himself, but he has taken from different source of sutra and with the quotations, and mainly, like there are 7 kind of purification practice that is recommended. So by relying on name, that is what we do, 35 Buddha practice through prostrations. By relying on mantras, that is what we do, Vajrasattva purifications, by reciting the Vajrasattva mantras and the visualization and all of that. By meditating on emptiness, it's another. By building or making holy objects, such as stupas, centers, tsatsas, or printing the holy objects, whether it's a book, whether it's a Buddha's image, and so forth. And then, as a way of purifying, and I'm not remember the 2. 1 came and then it slipped. I was remember 5. I couldn't remember 6, all of them now. And 5th one, it was in my mind, and it suddenly slipped. Maybe it might come. And so, and all of the masters, if you see, especially all the Tibetan masters in all different lineages, they have done all this practice. And they themselves have done all this practice, and they recommend for us to do those practice, because they find with their own experience how beneficial and how helpful it is. Many of those practitioners, highly developed practitioners, they were meditating on whatever different subject, whether they are lumbering different subject, they are meditating on loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, emptiness, and so forth. But sometimes they find difficult in making any progress. They are stuck there. They cannot make any further progress. They get stuck there. And then they start doing some purifications or accumulation of merit. And through that, then they find their practice improve vastly. When you do the meditation, whatever subject, together the purification, accumulation of merit, and then requesting the Guru and the Buddha. So when all these practices come together, then it becomes more effective and make much progress, And it is not only about that you see in the, biography of all of the great masters and lamas, I have a friend who is a Geshe, and he lives in Dharamsala, and he has many friends who are meditating their life in those Dharamsala in the mountains. And because he communicated with them time to time, talk about their experiences, how their practice and their experiences. And many of them have shared that, they were making progress in their meditation, their practice. And suddenly, in some way, they started to have some kind of blockage. They couldn't go further, they couldn't progress further, and they're just kind of there. And then some of them started to rely on purification, accumulation of merit, and those practices. And then after doing that, then their practice increase, practice become better. And those are the experience of meditators. It's not just in the scriptures, but in actual, even in now, those who are meditating, that is how their own experience. So that is how purifications is very important conditions or factors to have success in our meditation, our practice, so that we can have development and realizations, and make progress on the path. So so today, I think in our meditation, I'm going to do the Vasattva purification practice when we do the meditations, but I'm going to keep it a little bit more simple. And I think I'm not going to do the long 100-syllable mantras, because I think some of you might be know that it will be easy, but some of you might not be, you might not know the mantras. So maybe, when we do the practice, guided meditation on purification, I think I might recite the long one first, and then maybe short one, Om Vasattva Hum, that is easy, Om Vasattva Hum, little bit. And then, those who cannot actually even recite that, I think, if you can recite, that would be great. But what I will guide, and I'm going to do more of contemplative. So even you cannot recite because you don't know, you are not familiar with that, it wouldn't be a problem. And you shouldn't be too concerned that you are unable to recite the mantras. I think the main thing is the contemplations of that purifications. There is a visualization, and I'm going to do some other form of contemplations in relation to the four opponent power or forces, and then also it is said the most powerful way to purify is meditating on emptiness of the negative karma itself, the action of creating negative karma, and the emptiness of the person who is creating negative karma. So I think I'm going to go a little bit in that directions when we do the guided meditations. Okay. So I think that is, and of course the purification is absolutely the main point, the main reason to do purifications is to develop our spiritual path. To develop our spiritual path, to have these realizations, to have less obstacles in our practice. But of course, byproduct, also, our obstacles in our worldly life also get purified. Sometimes we have some health issues because of our strong negative karma. Sometimes we have, some problem with the relationship because we have strong negative karma arising, ripening. Sometimes we might have, some obstacle in our financial situations and so forth, different obstacles in our ordinary life. When we do the purification, even though we are not doing purification for that purpose, we are doing the purification to develop love, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom. and all other lumbering realizations on the path. But byproduct, all that, because when do purification, all other will also be purified. And so byproduct, then, sometime, depending on how strong negative karma is, depending on how strong our purification is, sometimes situation could change, situation could get better. But that shouldn't be our reason to the purifications, okay? Otherwise, it becomes worldly. Do you get it? If I'm doing purification because I'm some health issue and to purify my negative karma that lead to my health issue, and because I want to have good health, that become worldly intentions, and therefore the practice become worldly, so it is coming from worldly concerns, and therefore the practice does not become so spiritual and dharma, pure dharma, and same with any other obstacles. So I think that it is very important to remember and not forget we are doing purification for our spiritual path to develop those realizations and to clear and cleanse and purify those obstacles for those spiritual realizations. And the reason to develop that spiritual realization is to be more benefit to others. The more enlightened we are with our spiritual realizations, the more wise we are, the more skillful we are, the more we can benefit, the more we can help others. So that is the purpose. And so I think it is important to that, we shouldn't kind of use the Dharma for the success of worldly things, That will come naturally. We don't have to think about that. We don't have to have any intention for that. That will come by product of that. It's like as Lama Tsongkhapa said in his lumbering, and Buddha said, that he's just repeating what Buddha said, When you work for the benefit of others, or when you work for the welfare of others, your own welfare is taken care of by product. When we do truly with bodhicitta mind, you don't have to think about what is going to happen my own welfare, my own well-being. When we work for the well-being of other sentient beings with a pure motivation, bodhicitta motivations, because of that, your pure motivation, that bodhicitta motivation, you create incredible amount of virtues, merit, and because of incredible amount of virtues and merit, then you have less obstacle in your life and more success in your life and your own well-beings. So that comes naturally by product. You don't have to think about that. So that is same thing. I think I want to, same with the purifications. So I think we will have a short break, so you can take if you need to use a restroom or if you need to whatever, and then we will see in what is it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
5 minutes is good, I think.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Geshe.
Thank you.
you.
So maybe we can do it again. Short practice regarding the purifications. Again, try to relax as much as possible. And feel comfortable. And try to quiet your mind by watching breath for a few moments. Then you can think, I'm going to do this purification practice in order to cleanse and purify all the negative karma, negative emotions, all the obscurations. So we can develop and fully develop loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, wisdom, realizing emptiness, and all lumbering realizations. And with all these realizations, as we become more enlightened, more awakened, we can be more and more benefit and help to each and every sentient being. And may it become cause and conditions to obtain fully awakened state for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then, in the space above you, or a little bit further, however you feel more comfortable, on top of the cushion of lotus, there's a moon dish, or cushion of moon. On top of that, Vasasattva, Father, who is inseparable from the Guru, and who is all the enlightened energy of purifications of all enlightened in that form. White in color, and holding the Vajra and bell, sitting cross-legged, and wearing the celestial garment and all the ornaments of Sambhavakaya. And it is not like a statues, but life, not a concrete, but like a rainbow, because it's enlightened wisdom in that form. Again, if you cannot visualize well, don't worry about that. Just try to feel the presence of that, the Vasattva, or the energy of all the enlightened beings energy of the purifications or purified. Try to feel that present. And also you can visualize your heart on the moon cushions. You can think all sentient beings there. Again, even you cannot visualize very clearly. Just think and feel they all are there. Then we can, try to remember or recollect all the positive qualities, incredible qualities of the Buddha. The Guru was Sattva, limitless, undiscriminating love, compassion to each and every sentient beings. The wisdom realizing the true truth spontaneously. All-knowing, especially knowing the interests and predispositions of each and every sentient beings. An incredible skillful means to be able to present in whatever way that is beneficial to each and every sentient beings. According to the needs of each and every sentient beings. So with that, and also remembering their kindness in showing us the path, the way to achieve enlightenment, the way to develop our heart and mind. Through that, trying to have strong faith and respect. And by knowing Vasattva's body is the Sangha, his speech is the Dhamma, his mind is the enlightened Buddha. So then from deep of our heart, we take refuge until we achieve enlightenment. We will always take refuge. Please guide us, inspire us, bless us, show us the path. Then we generate a strong bodhicitta to all sentient beings. Just as we do not wish happiness, suffering, and we wish happiness, each and every sentient being equally, without any difference, wish to be happy and not to suffer. Even though that exists, we struggle to find lasting happiness and we continue to suffer physically, mentally, emotionally. In the same way, each and every sentient being experience similarly. Or even some of them much worse. So try to feel their pain, suffering, and generate a strong, compassionate attitude. the wish to free them from all their suffering, cause of suffering. The wish to lead them to lasting happiness and cause of lasting happiness. Try to feel as much as possible. And I'm going to do that myself. But at this point, when I'm unenlightened myself, I can only be helped very limited way and for very limited sentient beings. Therefore, I must achieve fully awakened stage as soon as possible, so I can be benefit in limitless way, in most effective way, to each and every sentient being. So a strong wish to achieve that enlightenment for that purpose. But in order to achieve that fully enlightenment, it's not enough just to wish. We need to practice on the path by cultivating bodhicitta mind and by engaging in the practice of six perfection and so forth. And in order to have a success in our meditation and our practice on the path, we need to purify and clear all the obstacles, external, internal. The reason why we do not have a success in our practice meditations or on our path is that we have created so much negative karma because of the delusions in the past. And continue to create so much negative karma, intentionally and unintentionally, through the body, speech, and mind. So try to recollect and remember some of the negative karma that we might have created through the body, speech, and mind in this life. And these are that we can remember, but we have created countless which we cannot remember now. That is why we have struggled. Why we have obstacles in our path. So try to generate strong regret for that by understanding such actions were unhealthy negative, and harmful. Being aware of that, acknowledging that, and then there is strong regret without being too harsh on ourselves. By knowing we all have Buddha nature on the basic level, on foundational level. By knowing that we all are ordinary beings who are trying to be a good person, but not perfect now. So that those understanding are weights on the back, try to regret. As those, if you have eaten a poisonous fruit, you will regret and you will want to vomit it as soon as possible. Sense of wanting to purify immediately as quick as possible. Then develop a strong resolutions that we will try all our best not to repeat such harmful, negative, and unhealthy actions again in the future. As much as we can. Then at the heart of was the Father on the mundis. There's a Hung syllable, and they're surrounded by 100 syllables, all in, with its own sounds. And those sound and syllables are not an ordinary sound and syllable, but they are enlightened wisdom energy in that form. And as we recite some of maybe the short mantra from that 100 syllable mantras and Hung syllable, white lights, nectar flow, again, which are in the nature of enlightened energy, enlightened wisdom energy, cleansing and purifying, like as we take shower, cleansing all the dirt of all the negative karma, all the delusion, all the obscuration completely. Om Vasa Sattva 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 Om Vasa Sattva. Try to do visualize with total convictions all our negative karma, delusion, obscurity, completely cleanse and purify of oneself, all sentient beings in our heart. And 1 second, all sentient beings become like crystal clear without any trace of any negative energy. We all become like transparent. And as we recite 7 more times, again, yellow, orange, light and nectar flow, again, which are enlightened wisdom, enlightened energy, enter 1 second all sentient beings and receiving all the blessing of bodies, enlightened body, speech, and mind, all the realizations of all lumbering, especially the bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness. Om Basa Sattva 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 Om Basa Sattva. Visualize whole our body, feeling all this realization, and with that all realization, great blissfulness. Every cell of our body is filled with that realizations and the blissfulness. Then we can again meditate. Even though those negative karma seems so real and inherently existent, but if we analyze deeply, profoundly with the wisdom, they are absolutely empty of inherently existing as real as it appears to us or our mind. Not only negative karma, the act of creating negative karma, that act also, even though to our mind it appears as so real, that actions and truly or inherently existence. But again, if we analyze with the eyes of the wisdom, they are totally empty of inherent existence, truly existence. And even the self, that is the creator of such actions and negative karma, when we don't analyze deeply with the wisdom eye, again, it appears as inherently and truly existent, so real. But if we investigate deeply and profoundly with the wisdom eye, it's totally empty of inherently existence, truly existent. Then Guru Vasasattva dissolve into the light, and the light dissolve into oneself and all sentient beings. And our subtle body, speech, and mind, and our guru and deity, both Vajrasattva's holy body, speech, and mind become oneness, inseparable. Then we dedicate all the virtues that one for oneself and all sentient beings to be able to clear and purify all the negative karma, delusion, obscurations, to be able to actualize all the realizations, especially the bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness, and all Lamrim realizations. And for each and every sentient beings to actualize fully enlightenment as quick as possible. Then you can slowly open your eyes. So I think I try not to use too much prayers. Okay, when you do yourself, of course, you have those, refuge and bodhicitta prayers, and the visualizations of the deities and all of that. But since so we can feel it. Sometimes we get caught up in the world. We don't really have the time to really feel it when you do the practice, because we are just kind of repeating the word, and a lot of time we get kind of lost in that word, and then we don't really have time to observe and contemplate and feel it. And I think and sometimes you don't probably you don't even need to recite the words. Sometimes if you can actually contemplate the meaning of those words. His Holiness also share, he says, lot of sadhana, sometimes he doesn't actually recite. He just go through stages of meditation of those different, in sadhana, there are many different stages one by one, and he just contemplating. And he said that Kedu Rinpoche, one of the main disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa, he has mentioned about that in one of the commentaries, and His Holiness also try to follow that. So, so anyway, I think that is the today's kind of the meditation practice, and again, I try to keep it a little more simple. I don't know. I think I thought I tried to be simple, but maybe it might have been. Sometimes you think it is simple, but for someone it might be very complicating. You never know. But anyway, so that is. And so now I will open for some questions, comments, or some discussions. So you can feel without any being shy, hesitation, fear, you can kind of, if you have any questions, unmute yourself or send it on chat box. If you are not, if you are shy, then you can send in the chat box. So any?
I was just asking for the third
one of the participants has answered me. And
Mhm.
thank you very much, John. Resolve. Could you just briefly do the third R?
Third, which one?
Number 3.
R, okay. Resolutions is a kind of making a commitment or promise not to repeat a mistake. Of course, like, we cannot make with, well, in doing that, there are few different ways of doing that. Some of the teachers or commentaries, they say, even though probably we know that we might be again repeating that because we are unenlightened, we still have delusions, and sometimes we are not mindful. Even though we might, in deep, still we might be knowing, probably as much as I don't want to repeat, but reality probably I will repeat it. Even when that you have that, but when you do the practice, you make a total commitment, promise, or resolution that I will never do it, or I will not repeat it. That is one way of doing according to some of the masters. And according to some other masters, Pabonga Rinpoche and, which Lama Soba Rinpoche also sometime recommend is that, I will try not to repeat those I can. And those which I cannot stop it, I will try my best within the 24 hours or as much as I can. So there are two different approaches according to different commentary, according to different lamas, kind of advice. So I think, whatever suit your mind, I think both of them are correct. Both of them are beneficial. But I think whatever your mind suits, I think you can do either of them when you do the resolution in that way, so that you don't have conflict in your mind. If you start a conflict in your mind, then your practice doesn't become so effective. So whichever do those different methods is more suitable for your mind, so you try to apply that, because both of them are advised by highly realized, like for example, as I said, one like Pabonga Rinpoche, and then as you see, a lot of practice Rinpoche developed that, and then in other one, Ling Rinpoche, again, His Holiness tutor, also according to his advice, then you make when you do make at that moment with total that I will not repeat it. So that, so there's slightly two different approach, but I think either of them is fine, whatever is more suitable for your individual mind.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any?
Okay, sure. There is a couple of questions in the chat.
Yes, please, Janet. Okay.
Hello, Geshe.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for this teaching. I'm a member of Langru Tangpa Centre in Brisbane.
Okay.
And I've attended some of your teachings there. I wonder if you could just help me. I do the practice of prostrations to the 35 confession Buddhas, but I can't do the prostrations anymore because I've got arthritis in my knees. So when I'm doing the practice, I visualize the Buddhas, and in my mind, I do prostrations 3 times to each one. Does that reduce the strength of my practice because I can't do the prostrations?
Well, if your physical situation is that, I don't think it will reduce. Someone who is physically healthy become lazy not to do that, maybe then, that will be another situation. But when you are actually physically, is not being lazy, but actually physically you can't do because of your physical health, then I think, one way is doing the prostration with fold hand, with each of Buddhas, 3 times like that, bowing with the fold hand. So I think that you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
You visualize the 35 Buddha, and then, Buddha has been always compassion, and he has always he never asks the disciple or follower do something they cannot do. He doesn't force them to do. So he give a skillful means, whatever is suitable for that individual. For some people, because of the health issue. For some people, because of the other issues. So therefore, I don't think that that will kind of reduce when you do sincerely, and because that is your physical situations, your health situations. So I don't think that will reduce as long as you do sincerely that practice in that way. So yeah. But like for me, when I'm still healthy and when I can still do prostration and being lazy, and if I don't do it, then I'm not so sure.
Okay, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Hi, Geshe.
Let me watch out. Yes. Yes.
Hi, Geshe.
Yes.
After you went through all your vows and try to purify, is there anything else? I don't really know if we've done all our purification. How do you know if you purified everything even after you've gone through all the vows? How do you know what else to purify?
I think there's no way, I think, for us to measure how much has been purified and how much has not been purified until we have certain level of enlightened mind that can see much more further. But by doing the practice of purification, there's no doubt your negative karma will be decreased. That is for sure. How much it has decreased, how much it has been purified, is hard to know because it depends on many factors. As I mentioned at the very beginning, how sensitive we are, and how well we do the practice, how strong those negative karma are, and how strong are those any of those four opponent powers. So it depends on many causes and conditions. So it is hard for, at least for me, to say that much of negative karma has been purified and that much has not been purified. Maybe highly developed teachers who have some kind of clairvoyance, they might be able to see it and they might be able to tell it. But I think and then purification we have to do anyway. Even I have purified all the negative karma that I've created until yesterday. Still I'm creating negative karma today because I have delusions. As long as I have delusions, I continue to create negative karma. So therefore, I continue to purify until I have no more delusions. Then I don't create, until I don't create any more negative karma. So I think definitely, we continue to do the purification as much as possible. And I think, from the Buddha's teachings, from all the masters' teachings with their own direct experience, definitely those purification work. And definitely those purification purify our negative karma. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Geshe.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Then I think there is one question. How many times a day is best to recite long versions, and how many times should we recite the short versions? Generally the advice is, if possible, the long versions 21 times in every day, evening. That is kind of the minimum, Maximum you can do as many as much possible. You can do 1 mala, you can do 2 mala, 3 malas, whatever, But if you are doing the short one, then every day you have to 28. That is the kind of the advice and instruction that you find in all the lumbering teachings and all of them. If you do the short one, then 21. If you do the long, if you do the long one, 21. If you do the short one, 28. Minimum each day, each evening. But of course, and after that, you can do as many as possible, there's no problem with doing more. Okay. And then there is one question: what is the purpose of mantra? Just words or pattern? Or I don't speak Tibetan, I don't know the meaning of word. I find visualizing fantastic, but mantra seems to get away. Okay, I think the mantras are mostly in Sanskrit. Okay, they are Sanskrit, not actually Tibetan, Sanskrit.
Yeah.
The mantras are, and most of the time you can, if you Google, you can find the meaning of those mantras. You will find in different practices on commentaries and teachings of the meaning of those mantras. Even though you might not be able to remember each words, but you will have the understanding of the main meaning of that mantras. And if you can remember that, I think that is all. You don't have to remember word by word. Of course, you study and you have general idea of what that mantra is and what that mantra is for, meaning of that. And if you have that general idea, then you can do that. And that, mantra recitation, mantra is a part of the Vajrayana tantric practice. So in tantric Vajrayana practice, is it transforming our impure body, speech, and mind into something meaningful and more pure. So because of that, then high yoga tantra, then you visualize yourself as a pure deity, and your speech, instead of just an ordinary speech, you visualize all speech as a mantra, which are always virtues. The mantras are wisdom, compassion, that is manifesting that sound and syllable, So actually, in the essence, is the compassionate wisdom of the enlightened beings, but in the form of such syllable and such sound.
It is patterns. If you think about it scientifically, it's like forming pattern, like, when you just go on, you can feel your body vibrating. The pattern. I'm being very naughty. I like to question everything. I don't do anything without questioning it. And sometimes when I'm doing all my mantras, I think, what's the purpose? I'm a deep because I said I got to.
Yeah, I think it's good that you cautions, you have to be convinced.
I'm very naughty, and I question everything, and that's what the Buddha said. Question everything. That's why I think, question everything.
But also, we have to be careful. Sometimes it can be extreme as well. It can go also extreme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like even when you talk about truth, all the master says, you shouldn't investigate too much of limit the too much, then you go to extreme, and then you cannot establish merely existence or conventional existence. So there is always kind of finding the balance, that we don't go one extreme to another extremes. So anyway, but also the mantras, the sound has some kind of, not only, of course, it is when we talk about mantras, we are talking about enlightened energies in form of that sound and that syllables. And then a lot of those sound has healing energies, or had a sound of making peaceful, healing, or many purpose of that.
Yeah.
So for example, Om Mani Padme Hum, for example, even though we said that, each time we said that, is saying, I want to become like a Avalokiteshvara who has loving kindness and the bodhicitta and wisdom and understanding emptiness. Basically, that's
a nice mantra. It's easy to say. The medicine Buddha is not so easy to say.
Is longer, and is definitely.
And the words, my tongue gets, twisted.
I think sometimes it gets difficult for when they make in English, they try to have phonetic.
Yeah.
In a
yeah,
phonetic
right.
way, then I think that is where the difficult come. Instead of just making the sound, however it sound. Sometimes you see some people, they put just the sound, but sometimes they put phonetic. And when you do phonetic, then you don't know what sound is because, and so I think that is one of the difficulties.
Thank you. That's a great help. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So there is one, Gisela, if we are only joking, we are not convalescing with the 10
Sorry.
virtues in the speech, right? Because we are not allowed to joke, that is not going to affect our progress, right? I think there is no provision not to have joke, I mean, you can see His Holiness the Lama in every teaching, every time joking. He's kind of teasing, he's joking, and that is not against it's not going against the Dharma. It's not going against the 10 virtues, or from a speech point of view, the four speech. So I think definitely, joking is just fine, and so as long as we don't make fun of someone for the sake of joke with a bad intentions, and that can hurt and harm someone. So when we have bad intention to hurt someone, and then we make that kind of joke, and then it hurts us, harm someone, then of course that kind of joke might not be beneficial and virtuous, but otherwise, yeah. So I think we will do the dedications for today. Again, thank you very much for everyone for joining. And I think if you find any health benefit, and then I think maybe you try to apply and do, even you can't do everything, at least a little bit. And that serves the purpose of us coming together and then interacting. If you just listen and then once you go home, everything's like that, then it doesn't serve so much of the meaning. Then it doesn't. But I think if you find any help, any benefit from our discussions, from our practice, then even you can't do everything, you try to apply a little bit. Okay. So due to all the virtues that oneself and others are creating in time, may we achieve fully enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And may each and every sentient being be able to actualize both Chitta, and those who are already actualized not diminish, but increase more and more. May all sentient beings who have already actualized the wisdom realizing emptiness to increase, and those who have not actualized, and those who have actualized to increase more and more. May His Holiness the Lama and Kiri Lama Soba Rinpoche have long, healthy life, all their noble deeds and wishes be fulfilled. May we always be guided and be under the care of them until we achieve enlightenment. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Geshe-la.
Again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Geshe-la.
Next week, welcome you again,
Thank you.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe, so much.
Geshe-la.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody joining.
Thanks very
Really
much, Lindy.
next week.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Venerable Lindy, it was nice
Thank you
seeing
very
you.
much for organising, Venerable Lindy and Jen. Thank you.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you, Lindy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God.